Zhang Yi noticed the zombies being burned by the flames and suddenly realized that someone must be controlling them from behind. When that person realized they couldn't easily kill Zhang Yi, they decided to retreat to preserve their zombie forces. Liang Yu frowned in contemplation for a while and then shook his head. I can't imagine how a person could control thousands of zombies simultaneously. Liang Yu looked at the piles of zombie corpses. Cutting off their heads can't kill them. With such strong power, the one controlling them could easily dominate the city. Uncle Vu, Su Chunlei, and Lu Karen listened intently to Liang Yu's analysis, their faces becoming increasingly serious. Zhang Yi looked around at the large heap of destroyed and burned bodies, some still moving. They were just severed body parts yet retained a strange vitality. Thinking about facing more zombies like these in the future made Zhang Yi's head ache. Zhang Yi spoke with determination. We must find out what these things are, who is controlling them and how, otherwise the city's future will never be peaceful. Zhang Yi planned to collect some parts of the zombies' corpses into his spatial ability. The process went smoothly, indicating that they were truly just corpses and not some special creatures. Zhang Yi looked at a severed head and thought even in death zombies still move. This is unbelievable. Feeling troubled, Zhang Yi took a flamethrower from his spatial ability and handed it to Su Chunlei. Burn these things. At least now we know they can be destroyed by fire. Everyone was at a loss to explain what had happened today. Ever since over 1,000 corpses disappeared without a trace, a mysterious and anxious atmosphere had enveloped everyone's minds. With the appearance of the zombie group today, no one could underestimate this danger. Even though they had repelled the zombies, the confusion was evident on everyone's faces. When they returned to the man, Zhou Qi and the others couldn't hide their fear. Zhou Qi clenched her hands tightly and exclaimed, if dead bodies can move, could there really be ghosts? From their pale faces it was clear they were also terrified. After all, who had ever witnessed such ferocious zombies fiercer than rabid dogs? They weren't just a small group but a massive horde. If Zhang Yi and his team hadn't been there today, even fully armed soldiers might have been torn apart. Uncle Vu's wife furrowed her brow. It's hard to say. Could there really be ghosts and spirits in this world? She had always believed in fun and destiny. It was said that when she was young her career had not been successful, but after consulting a famous master and changing her name she began to have good luck. There are many phenomena that modern human science cannot explain, yet they truly exist. Zhang Yi said nothing, merely sitting on the sofa contemplating the strange recent events. These thousands of zombies came from the Shishan base. When Zhang Yi, Su Chunlei, and Uncle Vu first arrived at Shishan base, they had felt something unusual. At that time he thought it was just his imagination and didn't pay much attention. Before leaving he had closed the doors of the Shishan base, feeling somewhat reassured. Additionally, the bodies of the soldiers had disappeared before and they had moved to the subway station. All these signs indicated a major secret behind this. While the women discussed the mysterious events, Zhang Yi concluded that someone must be controlling these corpses. The zombies knew how to avoid his spatial door and even knew how to hide. This was the behavior of intelligent creatures. Zhang Yi said, everyone listen carefully. The faces of those present couldn't hide their worry about the current situation. Zhang Yi continued, so there must be a mutant capable of controlling zombies and they are secretly opposing us from the shadows. Zhang Yi's words made a lot of sense and everyone couldn't help but nod in agreement. However, Zhou Qi seemed puzzled. Why would they want to attack us? Yang Xinxin also became curious. We haven't had any enmity with anyone. If we mention recent conflicts, only Zhao Yu and Yang Xing's bases have had grudges against us. Zhou Qi was quite worried today, so she voiced many of her thoughts. If they had such powerful abilities, why didn't they use them in the previous battles? Why wait until now? However, Zhang Yi shook his head. The sudden occurrence of these events couldn't be easily explained. Anyway, we should stay in the shelter and not go out. This place is very safe. Those zombies can't penetrate it. Let's silently observe the changes for now. After some thought, Zhang Yi turned to Yang Xinxin and said, Xinxin, in the coming days keep an eye on other factions to see if this phenomenon is only happening to us or if it's widespread throughout the city. Yang Xinxin nodded. I'll take care of it. Then Zhang Yi turned to Uncle Vu and Liang Yu, instructing them, Uncle Vu, Liang Yu, you both need to thoroughly check your bodies to ensure you weren't harmed by those zombies. If there's indeed a zombie virus, we need to be very cautious. After Zhang Yi finished speaking, the room fell silent as everyone kept their distance from Uncle Vu and Liang Yu. After all, in movies those bitten by zombies often get infected by the virus. Uncle Vu and Liang Yu were a bit subdued, but they understood Zhang Yi's caution. All right, we'll get checked out, Uncle Vu said. Zhang Yi smiled and reassured them. Don't worry, I don't doubt you, it's just a precaution. Given that they were all wearing bulletproof gear, the likelihood of being harmed by zombies was low. Zhang Yi was simply being thorough. He and Zhou Qi accompanied Uncle Vu and Liang Yu to get examined. Only after finding no injuries did they feel reassured. Good, no problems, Zhang Yi said. You two can go now. Zhang Yi smiled lightly at Uncle Vu and Liang Yu. After they left, only Zhang Yi and Zhou Qi remained in the room. Zhang Yi looked at Zhou Qi with a serious expression. Qi, there's something I need you to do. Zhou Qi immediately understood what Zhang Yi wanted her to do. You want me to research the zombies, right? Zhang Yi nodded. We need to determine whether these zombies carry any diseases or viruses or if they're being controlled by someone's powers. Zhang Yi explained further to Zhou Qi, if it's the first case it could become a widespread disaster throughout the city, no, even the entire country or the world. But if it's the second case, then someone is secretly controlling them. Zhang Yi's tone grew more solemn as he took a deep breath and spoke slowly. That would mean there's a hidden and terrifying threat in the city that we know nothing about. Zhou Qi, with a worried look on her face, approached and gently hugged Zhang Yi. Their outcome is truly frightening. Zhang Yi squeezed her hand lightly and smiled. Don't overthink it. We're not responsible for managing the outside world. What we need to do is protect ourselves first. As long as this refuge remains safe, we can continue to live our lives well. Zhou Qi nodded, feeling that Zhang Yi's words made sense. Worrying too much would only lead to deeper despair. In the medical room, Zhang Yi took out a zombie arm from his spatial ability and placed it on the research table. As soon as it appeared, the piece of flesh was still wriggling. Although it showed signs of stiffness, it still exuded a strong sense of vitality. Even Zhou Qi, a knowledgeable doctor, was wide-eyed. This is truly miraculous. Zhang Yi reminded her to be careful. We still can't determine if this is a virus or how it might spread. Zhou Qi smiled lightly. Don't worry, don't forget what my job is. She deftly took the tongs and placed the piece of meat into a tray, then enclosed it in a glass container. I'll need some time to conduct a thorough study. Zhang Yi replied. That's fine, we have time. If the threat remains at this current level, we can handle it. Zhou Qi nodded. Right, after all, our armed forces are the best in the city. But if this type of zombie appears in other factions, especially at the Baishu sect, it would be extremely terrifying. As Zhang Yi had predicted, the zombie crisis was not only targeting them, the entire city was suddenly attacked by a large number of zombies. Yangsheng's base, Zhaoyu base, and Qingpu base all faced assaults from these mysterious zombies. The sheer number of zombies was staggering and incredibly difficult to kill. Thousands of zombies overwhelmed the first lines of defense at the bases. In a short time, the major bases suffered heavy casualties from these zombie attacks. At Yangsheng's base, Xiao Honglian was the first to discover that these creatures were particularly afraid of fire. She climbed a tall tower and used purity alcohol to breathe out a dragon-like flame that swept through the zombies, turning them to ashes. Yet even as she looked around, the number of zombies was overwhelming, far more than the thousands Zhang Yi had encountered. The bases in the central areas faced even larger zombie hordes. Xiao Honglian felt the growing concern as the zombie numbers were too overwhelming. Without further thought, she furrowed her brows, preparing for the next move. Xiao Honglian's fire abilities reached their peak. A man carrying a heavy iron bar box approached her. Inside the box was the purest high-proof alcohol. Xiao Honglian took a swig of the alcohol and red veins immediately appeared on her body. She then spewed out flames like a dragon, incinerating the zombies that were swarming towards them. After a long and arduous battle killing countless zombies, they finally managed to stop the terrifying assault. Xiao Honglian, exhausted, said, "What are these things? They're not ordinary zombies. We need to investigate how they appeared. Is someone controlling them from behind the scenes?" Looking at the chaos and the corpses scattered everywhere in her once orderly refinery, Xiao Honglian couldn't hide her anger. Not only Xiao Honglian, but at Qingpu base, Xing Tian had activated his special abilities, leading 500 of the most elite soldiers to confront the zombies directly. At Zhaoyu base, despite the large number of zombies attacking, they couldn't inflict significant damage on the major factions. These factions, after all, possessed powerful fire power and a considerable number of mutants. However, Wei Dinghe was quite astonished by the appearance of these zombies. He furrowed his brows, expressing his concerns. Where did these things come from? Could they be nurtured by some faction in the city, or is it an underground force we've never discovered? Zhang Yi, along with the three major bases, managed to handle the zombie problem relatively smoothly. However, the situation at Baishu sect was dire. They had rapidly increased their recruitment over the past month, expanding the sect size quickly. In the central area of Baishu sect, over 100,000 people had gathered. Among them, more than 70% lacked strong combat capabilities and didn't even have proper weapons. This massive crowd attracted a large number of zombies from underground. That night, after the Baishu sect followers completed their prayer rituals, they returned to their individual tents to rest. In the evening, they lit a fire and shared canned goods and the red fruits they had gathered from the sacred tree. Suddenly, the night guards noticed vague human figures around them. However, due to the dim light, they couldn't see clearly. The night guards thought these might be survivors seeking help, so they approached to inquire, "Where are you coming from? Do you need our assistance?" When they approached to check, they discovered that the situation was entirely different from what they had thought. The others had bluish-purple skin, empty eyes, devoid of consciousness, and horrific wounds on their bodies. It was clear that these were not living people. The night watchman screamed in horror. At that moment, the zombies started to move. They were attracted and rushed forward. The night watchman hurriedly fired back. The sound of gunfire echoed continuously, but these zombies were not afraid of weapons. Even with their heads blown apart, they could still lunge forward and bite. Terrified screams echoed everywhere, causing fear. "Ah, save me! Help me! These desperate cries resonated throughout the Baishua sect camp. By the time they realized they were under attack, even those who did not fear death found it difficult to harm the zombies. The members of the Baishua sect might not fear death because of their faith. But these zombies not only didn't fear death but were also extremely hard to kill. In the darkness the zombies crowded together surrounding the entire Baishua sect area. In a short time hundreds of Baishua sect members were bitten to death by the zombies. Some guards realized they were zombies and fearfully aimed for their heads. However, this type of attack did not hinder the zombies' advance. Instead, the loud noise attracted more zombies, causing the guards to be dragged down and torn apart. Desperate shouts echoed throughout the Baishua sect camp. "Don't retreat, the holy leader will protect us." The guards were easily eliminated. At this moment the camp had become a ready meal for the zombies. Terrified screams echoed in the darkness. Since its establishment the Baishua sect had rapidly grown, with the number of followers reaching tens of thousands. They gathered near the church and lived together to stay warm, often with dozens of people sharing one room, leading to extremely high population density. In such densely populated conditions, when attacked by zombies they had almost no space to escape. Each door was broken down one by one and zombies rushed in, starting a massacre. Baishua sect followers screamed in fear. Some people even fainted from fright, but they could not escape the fate of being eaten by zombies. Some tried to escape by jumping from buildings, but there were even more zombies outside. However, the leaders of Baishua sect quickly reacted. At this moment the large doors of the church suddenly swung open. An invisible, powerful force surged out, flinging dozens of zombies away. Jing Yixian emerged from the church followed by more than 10 mutants. The horrific scene before them made everyone gasp. Jing Yixian thought to himself, the enemy attack turned out to be zombies. Facing this unbelievable event no one could help but feel confused. Zombies, something only seen in movies appearing in reality. How could this not throw everyone into panic? There was a momentary flash of unease in Jing Yixian's eyes, but he quickly regained his composure and began to command the counterattack. "Team leaders, listen up. Some of you stay inside the church. Do not allow anyone to leave and protect the leader and the followers inside. The rest follow me to eliminate these zombies." Under Jing Yixian's leadership Baishua sect finally began to restore order and launched a counterattack against the zombies. The involvement of powerful mutants completely turned the tide of the battle. The previously stunned followers regained their spirits, picked up weapons nearby and began to fight back. A mutant transformed into a beast-like form, a big animal with golden fur running from head to back with sharp fangs and claws. Using his knowledge from television programs he killed dozens of zombies thinking it was over, but these zombies only paused briefly. Though they moved slowly they still lunged toward him. Han Chang was astonished they still aren't dead. But as a mutant he did not feel fear. "Then I will completely destroy you." Immediately his claws glowed and all the zombies were slashed into many pieces, falling to the ground, but still rising. Han Chang expressed disgust. "How revolting. What on earth are these things?" Although these zombies were stronger than ordinary people they were still far inferior to him, a mutant. However, their inability to be killed instantly, combined with their large numbers, posed a significant threat. If surrounded even a mutant would find it difficult to survive. The fierce battle lasted over half an hour, resulting in extremely heavy losses. When the zombies gradually retreated into the darkness everyone breathed a sigh of relief, but the lingering fear haunted their hearts and would not easily disappear. Han Chang looked at the hellish scene around him with a worried expression. Han Chang felt a deep pain in his heart, his face filled with anxiety. Jing Yixian approached and spoke to Han Chang. The mutants gathered together. After a long period of fighting everyone felt extremely exhausted. Jing Yixian, still maintaining a cold and calm demeanor, began to command the survivors to clean up the battlefield. "Move all the bodies into the abandoned building over there." Han Chang raised his hand and addressed everyone. "Check to see if anyone is injured. These zombies are too peculiar. They might carry some sort of virus. We need to quarantine and observe anyone who has been in contact with them, and increase night patrols." Han Chang then moved closer to Jing Yixian, his face filled with worry. "These things are really tough to deal with. We can't kill them and they know how to retreat. They're not like the mindless zombies on TV. Jing Yixian, filled with frustration, gritted his teeth and said, "If this is really the work of another major faction I won't let them get away with it." Jing Yixian looked at Han Chang and frowned. "We need to investigate thoroughly. With the high population density of Baishua sect we could face more attacks like this. I'm not sure if this incident is related to other factions." He patted Han Chang on the shoulder. "The important thing now is to protect the survivors." Standing in the middle of the battlefield, Jing Yixian's eyes gazed into the distance, heavy and contemplative. Could this be a sign of a new storm? In just one short day all major and minor forces in the city had been attacked by zombies. The next day, on Zhang Yi's side, his close friend Xing Tian contacted him to check on the situation. Upon hearing Zhang Yi mention the zombies, Xing Tian exclaimed, "What, you were attacked by a horde of zombies too?" Xing Tian looked outside the Qingpu base, seeing zombie corpses and the bodies of soldiers lying scattered, feeling a deep sense of unease. "Yesterday we faced a similar situation resulting in over 100 casualties on our side. Hearing that Xing Tian's Qingpu base was also attacked by zombies provided Zhang Yi with more information. It made him realize that these attacks might be coordinated, allowing him to understand if someone was targeting them. Zhang Yi's expression turned serious as he spoke with a hint of suspicion. There's something very strange about these zombies. Even after decapitating them they don't die. This really seems like there's someone behind the scenes controlling them. With a grave tone Zhang Yi continued, however, after hearing what you just described I feel this matter is more complicated. We are over 100 kilometers apart yet both places were attacked by zombies at the same time. Zhang Yi's eyes sharpened as he concluded, if there really is someone orchestrating these zombie attacks from the shadows, it's definitely not just one person. Seeing Zhang Yi's serious demeanor, Xing Tian frowned and asked, do you mean there's a powerful force in this city that can control and manipulate these zombies? With this information he shouted into the phone, but if that's true, wouldn't this force be invincible in the city? With more than 10 million people potentially turned into zombies, they could easily wipe us all out just by relying on those zombies. Xian Tian's words added to Zhang Yi's anxiety. Take your shelter for example, no matter how steady it is, it can't withstand constant zombie attacks every day. If you just stay put without taking action you won't be safe, my old friend. Zhang Yi nodded. Then we should proceed step by step and reach out to other factions to see if they experiencing the same situation as us. After gathering information and understanding the situation in other areas, Zhang Yi gradually realized that, if everyone in the city turned into zombies, even the most fortified shelter wouldn't withstand the onslaught forever. Initially they had a few days of peace, but on the third day hordes of zombies once again surrounded Zhang Yi's estate. Seeing the swarming zombies outside, Zhang Yi could only sigh. Zhang Yi immediately prepared, donning his combat gear and leading everyone outside the shelter to face the oncoming threat. Su Chunlei used his snowstorm superpower to attack the zombies, limiting their movements and making them easier to kill for those following behind. Meanwhile Uncle Vu wielded a long-range flamethrower, enthusiastically spraying flames at the zombies, turning them into roasted meat one by one. On this side Zhang Yi also used his flamethrower to support the two people flanking him. The combined firepower created an increasingly significant impact, making their efforts more effective. Inside the shelter, Zhokir held a notebook, meticulously observing the situation outside and continuously jotting down notes. She monitored every movement of the zombies and made an observation. Just as I suspected, these zombies' bodies seem to prefer cold temperatures and are averse to heat. Once they are burned at high temperatures they lose their activity, and consequently their ability to move. Thanks to their research on how to deal with the zombies, today's results quickly mirrored those of the previous day. Half of the zombies attacking were killed, while the other half, too frightened, fled the area. Zhang Yi ceased his attack and stood still watching the retreating zombies, his face furrowed in deep concern as he remarked, I always feel like something is not right. Su Chunlei noticed Zhang Yi's uneasy expression. After driving away the zombies he hurried over with a puzzled look and asked, boss, is something wrong? Zhang Yi lifted his head, took a deep breath and explained, yesterday we eliminated more than half of the attacking zombies, but today the number of zombies attacking is even greater than yesterday. Zhang Yi asserted this indicates that the zombie virus spreads extremely quickly, and it's likely that the deceased are all turning into zombies. The victorious smiles on everyone's faces vanished as Zhang Yi spoke. Zhang Yi signaled for everyone to return and reminded them, let's head back and explain the situation with the zombies outside to everyone. The three people behind him looked visibly worried, their faces showing clear signs of concern and melancholy.